Good afternoon, people in Ferguson, St. Louis, Kansas City, throughout the United States. You're listening to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City? And we have a historic sort of show for you. And a follow-up, the last time we was calling from Nashville, Tennessee. So we'll catch up. There was some other wonderful information, but on the same token, this show will be dedicated to the memory of Richard Pilkington, Little Richard, who died in Nashville and at the age of 81, and also the person known as the person as far as DJ is concerned, but more recently, that happened in the last couple of years, seems like we're on top of the 2 years from now, or 2 years prior to, that it's also be dedicated to the memory of L.R. Bird, and I will appreciate any assistance from Mr. R. folks on L.R. Bird, who was a friend of both of us.
He's a good friend of both of us. He's very much a good person in the radio business for me a year. His real name was Lewis. Well, that was his first name, and Ronald Bird. That's why they got Ronald Bird from. He was born in 1929. I was born that way in 2020. And he was down in the Greenville, South Carolina. And so we pray for him and his family, but he's a microphone and I've been there, we have a right to MC. And there are a lot of good things in his life.
Well, he also, when I went to Greenville, South Carolina, he had opened the doors, gave me some, provided some TV appearance, and he was one of our talk show hosts. For R and myself, and then we came to Kansas City, and he had worked with Benjamin Hooks with NAACP. He was quite an artiste, and we lost him, and this is the other part of today's show on the memory of. Now, we also got some outstanding people here from what used to be the Grand Ole Opry, but now it's Music City. But for your information and mine, it's Nashville, Tennessee, which is not too far from Atlanta and not too far from New Orleans. But as you turn on your YouTube, your Facebook, your Apple TV, you can hear this show, which is short. So let's take it away. And who do we have?
Today we have our guest, Mr. Ron Wynn from Nashville, Tennessee, and Ron is a frequent guest on that radio station. He was on my show last Saturday, and we spoke about, in length about what is happening in Nashville. Ron, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Well, life is good, brother. Life is kind of chilly here in St. Louis. I don't know how the weather in Nashville, but it's kind of chilly here in St. Louis. How's the weather in Nashville, MC?
Well, I'm not going to even go outside to find out, but they said the wind's blowing. I'm in, based on one of in the memory of, they said open the door, Little Richard, but we don't want Little Richard to open the door.
Okay.
But do we have the young lady that's over the Nashville #1 newspaper with us?
Well, no, we don't. We just got Ron today. We didn't try to reach out to her today, MC. I just, Ron is here, and that's something we can do in the future, right, Ron?
That's correct. Yes. You're talking about Mrs. Perry, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll set that up at a future time. Yeah.
Well,
Ron,
we hope you're gonna give us a top rating today, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Well, do this, Rod. What has happened since the last time we were on the air? There's been a change down in the political arena in Nashville. bring our listeners up to date what has taken place and where in what direction are we headed in now?
Okay, well, some interesting things have continued to happen. For one thing, yesterday the session actually came to an end, and there was such dissatisfaction with what had happened that the governor has called for a special session to be reconvened. Now he has to set a date. He has to set a date for that, but the session had not been over for an hour before he was making a speech in which he was demanding that there be a special session of the legislature to be called to deal with public safety and gun rights. Now that's an interesting kind of duality there. So he has to set that date, and he's going to do that next week. He's going to announce next week when they're going to have this special session, and that's one of the things. And then, of course, we're going to have a summer full of elections because there have to be elections held in Nashville in June and Memphis in July to officially fill the seats that are being held for the time being by interim members because of the expulsions. And of course, Representative both Justins were put back in by the voters in Nashville and Memphis, by the city council and the Shelby County Council. But now there have to be special elections held to officially fill those seats, and that's going to be in June and July. And then in August here in Nashville, we have the mayor and council elections. So we got a summer full of elections coming up on top of all of that. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, well, we say yesterday, right, that's good for the people business. a lot of advertising we take away.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, just for the heck of it, okay, is anyone running against either one of the justices in their special election?
I seriously doubt it. I mean, obviously people have the right to do that, but I would be very surprised if anyone runs in either election. Again, in both cases, they were put back in so quickly. I mean, the city council meeting to reinstate Justin Jones took about 10 and the Shelby County Commissioners meeting election to reinstate Justin Christen took 2 minutes. And in both cases, they were unanimously put back in. So I would be stunned if anybody runs against them in the upcoming elections.
You know, to add to that, in June, in the municipalities of Kansas City, Missouri, there will be elections for the mayor and also the city council seats here in Kansas City. So look like June used to be the bride's month, but now it's get in office month.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing for the community to continue to be engaged. That's a good thing, especially on a local basis.
Well, let's not let Rod get off the hook. We talk about the weather in St. Louis and Kansas City. What about Nashville?
Today, it's actually a little cooler. Yesterday, it was in the 70s. Today, it's in the 60s, but there's a lot of stuff that has been happening today. We had the Rock and Roll Marathon earlier today, and then we've got today, well, it's over now, but tomorrow is the second day of the 2-day special food festival that's being sponsored by the owners of the Black Market. And the Black Market is a group of Nashville black entrepreneurs who set up a food market down in the farmers market, and they're holding a festival at Hadley Park, and they had the first day of it today and the second day is tomorrow. And you've got vendors from all over the country and from around the world, black owned restaurateurs and black-owned vendors who are bringing in their food to Hadley Park for people to sample. So that's happening today too in Nashville as well, and tomorrow also.
Yes, it is. We always talk about Kansas City and St. Louis about the Jazz Month and Barbecue Month, what are these entrepreneurs in the restaurant hospitality industry? What is a delight of? What are some of the top foods the guests can hope to enjoy?
Well, the big thing here is hot chicken, and that's something I can't eat because of my stomach. But that's become like a world-class thing in Nashville is hot chicken. There are a whole bunch of hot chicken restaurants, and that's one of the items that's being presented at this festival, and also barbecue and some other things too.
When you say hot chicken, do you mean spicy hot or hot coals or stove hot?
Multiple ways to do it hot. Okay, the Prince's hot chicken is the spicy hot, and then there's other hot chickens that is, to me, I would consider it barbecue chicken, but no, I'm not a cook. But that's the way that it's prepared. But there's all kinds of ways to fix hot chicken, and for the folks whose stomach linings can handle it, you can get it super hot, you can get it medium hot, you can get it blazing hot. There's all different types of ways to fix it.
Well, let's not leave out ours better half and her sweet potato pie.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, well, yes, my wife does have those finger sweet potato pies that you haven't had, Scott have had, and Ryan, I guess you haven't joined us in that, okay? But there's sometime in the future, okay? We gotta make sure you get you one of those.
Please do, yeah. And one other thing I wanted to add is that has happened over this weekend is at the National Black Music Museum. They hosted yesterday and also on Thursday a 2-day thing for New Edition because it's the 40th anniversary of New Edition. And so they came into town and did like kind of an impromptu performance at the Black Music Museum, which is across the street from the Ryman, and also were presented with plaques. And there is now a new edition display in the Black Music Museum on 5th Avenue. So that was just today too.
Was Bobby with the New Edition?
Yes, he was. He was in town, and he actually spoke at the event yesterday.
And you know Bobby Brown,
Ralph Tresvant, and the whole Belle Biv DeVoe and Bobby Brown crew were in town for the New Edition yesterday.
Okay.
And they're on tour. They have reunited and they're on tour. And I think they went from here to Phoenix, Arizona, and then I forget where else they're going this weekend. But yeah, it was a very nice event yesterday at the Black Music Museum, which is if you haven't been to it, by the way, I'd recommend that you come to it. That's become a major tourist stop here in Nashville now.
Okay. So now, what does the Black Music Museum consist of?
The Black Music Museum has exhibits that spotlight the history of black music in jazz, gospel, blues, rhythm and blues, hip hop, classical, the country, the whole spectrum of black music. And there are interactive displays, there are photo displays, there are memorabilia displays, and it's a beautiful building right across from the Ryman, and this is the second year that it's been in existence.
Well, not near to me with downtown Nashville. You said, what is it right across from the what now?
The Ryman Auditorium on 5th Avenue, right across the street.
So what is the Ryman Auditorium?
Well, the Ryman Auditorium, the nickname of the Ryman Auditorium is the Mother Church of Country Music, but it actually has all types of music that come through there over the course of a year. But in the summertime, the Grand Ole Opry has weeknight concerts at the Ryman, and then they have the weekend concerts at the Opry House.
Okay. So that's basically all it is what it's about.
When you say about this is the big week down in Nashville, like every week probably is. Peoples, you say that in the South. Peoples, okay.
Yeah.
What is the cultural makeup and the numbers that venture into Music City?
Okay, well, tourism has become, when I say has become, it's to a certain extent, tourism has always been a big thing here in Nashville, but over the last, I would say, certainly the last 10 years, maybe the last 15, there has been a conscious attempt by the Visitors and Convention Bureau to broaden the image of Nashville. Because, of course, everybody knows about Nashville and country music, but there's a lot of other things that have happened here. So, for one of the things they've done is now you can take a tour of just Nashville's black attractions if you choose to do so. And that will take you to the Black Music Museum, that'll take you to Fisk, TSU, Meharry, American Baptist, and you get a chance to see, and you'll get a chance to see some of the sites that are in the black community. So that's one of the things since I've been here, I've been in Nashville now since 1995. As far as I've been back, I was born here, but I've been back in Nashville working since 1995. And that's one of the things that I've seen that's happened over the last 10 to 15 years is much more inclusion in terms of other things here besides country music.
Well, you know what has been the hottest thing and the bad thing in these United States is all the unnecessary, I will repeat, unnecessary killing, shooting, and whatever. What are you guys, how is it in Nashville? And then how is it in St. Louis?
Well, I'll say this, yesterday on several of the news reports, they released a study about gun violence. And the state of Tennessee was number 7 on that survey in terms of number of deaths directly related to gun violence. And of course, this last session of the legislature was dominated by the discussion about gun violence. Now, unfortunately, they didn't do anything about it, which is why there's going to have to be a special session. But the Democrats came up with 65 different bills over the course of this last legislation to try to address it, and they didn't vote on any of them. None of them even made it out of committee because the Republican supermajority refused to act on them. And so after the Coventry shooting, even the governor, who has been pretty much a pro-gun rights person all of his time in office, and he's in his second term, has kind of reversed feel a little bit, and he said, we've got to do something as a state about gun violence because it has gotten so bad and it has become such a major thing in the state. So that's the Tennessee perspective on gun violence.
But also around just some other news made there was a resignation out there that was about one of the representatives that was accused of some kind of sexual harassment. What happened about that?
Yeah, it was a Republican legislature from Johnson County, and he had been accused of this accused of sexually harassing an intern. And now this accusation was made weeks ago, but the Republicans pretty much covered it up, and then it got leaked out to the newspapers and the TV station that this had been on the docket for like weeks. And so once it became public, this guy had to resign. And what made this look so bad is that this was one of the people who voted to expel the other representatives. And they had not committed any criminal acts. Here's somebody who's actually accused of a criminal act that was still allowed to vote to expel people who weren't. So once that got out, rather than force his buddies to kick him out, this guy resigned. So he resigned his seat as of Thursday.
Okay. Well, now, how long have you been there?
He was in his second term.
Okay. And also, I know you guys have 2 years, term in 2 years, right?
Right.
So
right.
You've been there about 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, around with the governor calling that shit just so quick, but somewhat surprising.
Well, let me say this about, and again, I don't know about other states with Republican supermajorities, but in this state, with the ones we have, it has been so dominated by the gun lobby that if the Coventry thing had not happened, they were going to lower the age to purchase handguns to 18. That bill was in the legislature and it was getting ready to get passed. And the day before they came up for a vote, they had the Coventry shooting. And so the Republicans temporarily decided to table the vote on that. But I would imagine that eventually it will pass, and eventually the age that you can legally purchase handguns in the state will be dropped to 18. They've already made it basically anybody can get a gun. I mean, the governor signed a bill last year that allows a permitless open carry. So you don't have to have a permit to openly carry a gun in the state. He also passed
in Missouri also.
Yeah, he also passed. They also signed a law where you're allowed to take guns into public parks. So pretty much until the Coventry shooting happened, there had not been any kind of restrictions on gun purchases at all. But ever since that has happened, there's been an outcry across the state that it's just too easy for people who shouldn't have guns to get guns. And so now there's actually, for the first time in recent memory, there are people who are actually saying, well, look, we need to have at least some type of reasonable restrictions on the purchase of handguns. So that's what's going to be discussed whenever they have this special session.
You know, when I used to come to Nashville, one of my favorite cities in the South, but recently they had, for the people wanting to protect the rights of gun manufacturers, where the people could not come up and sue them. I don't know what it is. You can tell us. The other thing, when I used to come there, I have a niece that was a deputy sheriff that the people could go into bars, and as long as they didn't hide their gun, they could display them. Is that still the case?
Yes, to the first part that what you said, they just passed. One of the few bills that did get passed in the legislature was one that immunizes gun manufacturers from being sued if someone purchases a gun and then commits a crime. That bill did get passed. And yes, you can openly carry guns into bars. And that is one of the things that's going to be discussed in the next session, because there's been a bunch of situations down on 2nd Avenue with folks getting loaded and then pulling out their guns and shooting the place up. So there is some thought that maybe that law ought to get repealed, or if not repealed, at least ought to get tweaked so they could, like, some limit on the amount of drinks somebody can purchase if they're carrying, if they bring a gun into the bar.
You know, Ron, one of the things we've been kind of focusing here on, on Tennessee, but not far away in Kentucky, okay? There's been some mass shooters over there. You know a little bit about those. I mean, there's been back to back over there.
In Louisville, yeah, Louisville's had a major problem for like the last couple of years, but it's really been accented in the last couple of months with mass shootings. And both the mayor of Louisville and the governor of Kentucky are calling for the legislature to do something about it. And of course, in Kentucky, just like Tennessee, as far as how easy it is to get a gun. And but they may, and of course I don't know because I'm not there, but from what I hear, there may be a call in Kentucky for a special legislative session also to address that same issue.
Yeah, well, I know right now, this past week, there was a whole lot of shootings that involved, a lot of what I call senseless shootings, like even here in Missouri, the young man that got probably the most attention of Ralph Young, where he was, went to the door,
Right.
mistakenly, I should say, on the wrong street, and the young man, the gentleman, shot through the door, was, and the funny part about that, the investigating to the MCFD your way was the State County District Attorney said that, there was not racist, but after finding out that the district attorney there and was their whole sheriff department was very familiar with Mr. Lester. So he had used his wife many times. And then, she left, and his son also, grandson spoke bad about his grandfather being, being kind of being hooked on Fox News over day in and day out, kind of contribute to some of his problems. And then another one that made no sense. Another one made sense, but especially the one where the young lady made a wrong turn to a driveway, and they would leave the house, and the man shot them. But the craziest one was these cheerleaders down in Texas, where a man came up, just because they was on the, trying to get in the wrong car, and they left and got in their own car, and they came up and got shot from there. Right. It was really crazy.
Well, you have one situation where a young lady, I think age 20, but I think that was, I want to say Albany, New York, but I'm not sure.
It's upstate New York, yeah.
And then the one locally in Kansas City, that 85-year-old fella pleaded not guilty, that accidentally on purpose shot this teenager who went to the wrong door looking for his brother.
MC, I got to make a correction on that. Actually, accidentally on purpose. Do something about it.
There was an intention.
Okay.
Now, isn't he claiming self-defense? Isn't he trying to? Aren't they trying to use the self-defense law on that one? Like he's claiming that the young man was trying to break in his house, and so he fired in self-defense.
Well, he brought that up, okay, but I don't think that's gonna be the case where he can actually stick. But he has said he feared for his life.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But see, well, he said just woke up and went to the door, and without even asking who it was, he just came out shooting.
Yeah, and then after he shot him in the head, didn't he shoot him a second time?
Shot him in the arm, and thank God the young man.
Yeah.
And the bad part about this that he had said initially that the young man, that the person was 6 feet tall, and Ralph was only 5'8".
Yeah.
Not that big also. So, but the one that really took the cake was in North Carolina. I'm not going to say what the kid was basketball ruling a man's yard, and he came out and he got to shoot. When he actually shot the kid, and then when it shot when it shot the let me get that off here. When it shot the people, that the father and the mother. But I mean, that's not a good thing to do. As a matter of fact, I was just checking over here on Facebook right then, and we were listening to us live on Facebook also. So you can hear the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
Let's go back to what happened in that church. Well, all the black folks were killed by this white boy, and attempt to start a civil war, and that is the intent of a lot of people. What is the thought in St. Louis and Nashville on that subject?
Well, see, that was years ago that I know what you're talking about. Well, I think it shot maybe 13 people more, including the pastor there. That was a hate crime there, and I mean that's when President Obama went down. Obama, when he was in office, was a part of that. That's where he went down there, making racist images like.
Well, bringing up the date of I'll repeat the boy that shot all the people in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know the status of that? What's going on with that?
Well, he got the death penalty, but now they're still going through the appeals. But it's my understanding that he has had 2 appeals turned down, and he's on death row. So I think you get 3, and then if you lose all your appeals, you get executed. So he's going to eventually get executed.
What is the form of executed? I know in Kansas, it used to be hanging. What is it in that place? What is it in that? In
Tennessee, it's lethal injection. I think in South Carolina, it's also lethal injection. I'm not sure. I know in this state, it is lethal injection.
But same way here in Missouri, but I didn't know that Kansas hang people. I wasn't aware of that.
No, that was Kansas. You don't ever watch Gunsmoke, do you?
Well, that was back in those days, but I didn't know they were still hanging people.
Oh yeah, that was a form of execution in Kansas. By hanging people.
Not today, is it?
No, I say not today.
Okay.
Now, in Utah, I know you have a choice of either lethal injection or firing squad, but most states now think it is lethal injection.
Mm-hmm.
They also have done this as related to women too, who have was executed.
Mm-hmm.
But one point that you brought up that I think is a good one is that there is definitely a connection between the white supremacist movement and a lot of this gun violence, because they funnel, when I say they, these white supremacist groups funnel a lot of guns, a lot of military weapons through all these networks, and there's a network in West Tennessee that deals in all types of illegally obtained military weapons, and the TBI has been investigating it, but to my knowledge, they've not made any arrests about it yet. But I've seen stories about it. So.
Well, also, MC, lethal injection is the only one permitted in Kansas. But right now, they do not have the death penalty, and that's rarely done. And there's no one on death row in Kansas at the moment.
So they say the one that you, if you could, when did they stop hanging folks in Kansas?
When did they stop hanging folks in Kansas?
Yeah, that was a way of people, and back in your parents' days, your great parents, the cowboy days, if they stole a horse, they would hang them.
Well, that was quite a few places back in those days.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
You watching too many cowboys.
Hey, don't miss it. Gunsmoke, Dodge City. Also, while we're talking about deaths and things like that, what will take place this next week in Kansas City is the NFL draft. And they're talking about the city making or economics up 100 plus $20 million, okay? For that 4 days. So, yeah.
That's going to be huge. And by the way, again, the last execution they had in Kansas in 1965, and there are no executions right now, no, I mean hanging was in was like that in 1954 to 1960. There was a hanging.
Was that hanging then?
Yeah, that was the mass execution was in 1965, but that was not by hanging though. That's what I tell back on page. The mass execution in Kansas took place on June 22nd. A double hanging took place. George York and James Newton, both of them got hanged together there. Yeah.
Well, it pays to listen to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City, because we're going to tell you what's coming to your city if you're not careful.
Well, right now, that's hopefully hanging. Well, we know hanging, but that's we have those in Missouri, and our governor has not stopped one himself. Okay, since he's been governor, and he's not giving out any part.
When you speak of the governor, I know a lot of times people on the Jeff Road. Something just happened recently in Missouri where they wanted to have a stay of execution about people executing, or the governor and stop that, or I guess you might call it a so-called temporary pardon.
No, our governor has not done. We had some executions, I think, in the last month or so. Someone was hanged. You may have one come up sometimes.
What is that?
That has not stopped people from being executed in Missouri.
What about Tennessee?
Well, Governor Lee is very much pro-death penalty, but the last two major death penalty cases have both been appealed. The ACLU has appealed both of them, and they're both in court. They're both in the courts. So there hasn't been an execution in Tennessee in a while because of that. But Governor Lee's very much a death penalty, a pro-death penalty governor. So
how long has he been governor?
He's in the second term now.
Okay. Well, that's always interesting about how that comes about. Sometimes people have done some, I kind of put it, gruesome thing.
Here's the question for you. And like when I used to come there all the time, where the people could carry guns in the bars, what is the feeling of the people there about carrying guns? If somebody have too much liquor and they will just start shooting, what does the public think about that? What do they do about that?
Well, right now, there's probably more public concern over that than there's been in a long time, because of not just the Coventry shooting, but also because down on 2nd Avenue, there have been the last month, there's been just a whole series of incidents in bars with people shooting them up. And so the feeling now, at least feeling from just walking the streets, talking to people and stuff, is there's got to be some kind of limit on people being able to just stroll into a bar, get drunk, and pull the gun out and just start firing away. Now, I don't know, there's not any city, because of the laws that have been passed, you can't stop people right now from doing that. I mean, you can, as long as you got your gun, and there's no law about permits, you don't have to have a permit to have the gun. You can come in the bar and get drunk and shoot it up. And then, of course, the police have to come in and whatever. And there have been people killed because of that and things of that sort. But right now, I would say there's more public concern over that than there's been in a long time. I mean, just in general.
It's got heavy out here, okay, Scott. In Missouri, okay, well, so if a person can a business put a sign saying no guns allowed in the business?
Yes. You do have the law does in Tennessee. The law does give the business owner that option, but few of them do it. I mean, the bar, and I think now they're starting to rethink that, because see, the business people supported that law originally. They were, I mean, at least the people who own the honky tonks, they were all in favor of having this kind of cowboy atmosphere, where you stroll in with the top hat and wearing the gun on your holster and stuff. But now that they're getting their places shot up all the time, they're starting to rethink that.
Wow. Well, I know here in Missouri, we have a major problem in St. Louis and Kansas City. Well, the young guns here, people get a gun at 18 years of age, and we have had kids who sold in downtown with long guns, hanging out the show in the middle of the day.
Well,
that's not something that you look forward to seeing.
Well, the woman that shot up the Coventry school with the AR-15, I mean, she bought that. She purchased that legally. I mean, you can legally purchase an assault weapon in the state of Tennessee. And so, yeah, so she strolled in there, and when they started checking out, when they went to her house, and they found a ton of other guns, those were all legally purchased too. So she was planning on going to at least 2 other places and shooting them up too. But it's just that they killed her at Coventry, and so that's why her death toll was only 7. But it could have been a lot worse had she been able to go to the 2 other places that she was planning to go and shoot up some more places, shoot up some and kill some more people.
Ron, this number was sick because there were 3 students and three adults, and she was the 7th one that got killed.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah, three 9-year-olds, 3 the principal of the school, a janitor at the school, and then another person, and then her. Then the police killed her.
Yeah, because the teacher that got shot was a substitute teacher.
Right. Just moved to Nashville. Just got there from Alabama. Yeah.
That is just. How the schools? Right now, I know a lot of the students down there were very adamant, that they will be voting those people out in Nashville as soon as they turn 18. That movement still good.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's only going to get stronger, I think, because the Republicans continue to ignore their wishes, and so what that's doing is that's generating more and more activism, more and more participation, and more registration. Voter registration is going up in that age group. So these elections that are coming up are going to be very interesting to see.
Well, around here in Missouri, I don't know if it's there in Tennessee, transgender has been a hot topic, unfortunately. That and here in Missouri, one of the ladies that started the foot here was worked at university here in one of the hospitals, and she was let go, and she kind of falsified some information, but it basically taken it as facts and ran that wildfire through our state capitol. And some of those laws that have not been passed since then, well, she testified, and now they found out that she had lied on some stuff. Is that happening down there?
Yeah, it's a hot type fact. Another one of the few laws that they are pushing hard here is they're trying to get a ban on transgender athletes in the high schools. And that's probably going to get passed if it hasn't already gotten passed. And I guess the thing I find so interesting about that is every survey I've ever seen taken on that, and there's been a bunch of them taken in the last few months because of these laws, it shows that you're talking about a minuscule amount of people who qualify under these laws. So they're passing these laws to highlight, a tiny spectrum of people. Now, I will say that what does seem to be generating sympathy for these bills is that there have been women athletes and girls who testify in these hearings and complain that they feel it's unfair to compete against transgender athletes. So if you were to judge this just by these hearings, you would think that there's a ton of transgender athletes competing all over the country, but really it's only a tiny percentage. I mean, a very, very small percentage. In a lot of jurisdictions, there's none, and in many jurisdictions, there's like one or two. But the way that it is being presented, it's like there's an epidemic of transgender athletes who are flooding the high schools and participating in sports. So
I think the word he used, minuscule, that's probably the most accurate description I've heard so far.
I mean, based on the numbers I see, it's a minuscule, it's a minuscule number, so.
But I know like down in Florida, the governor down there, who I personally think is going to go forward in national politics. The stuff he's doing in Florida, that he just gets to the majority down there. He's abusing his, I think, his ability to govern. Because they had some floods in Orlando, and he was missing in action. They didn't even fly over to see what's going on. They hadn't gone back yet to see what's going on in the state. And now I guess this kind of bothers me also in other states now. Trying to pass some laws that lower the age, for young people, to get married and also to get married, and also to work in factories. Now they kind of go back and reenact some laws for young people, for people under 15 in some places, working in the meat factories, places like that. That happens down there.
There has been some allegations of underage children of illegal immigrants working in places, but it hasn't been as big a deal in Tennessee as it has been, at least not yet, as it has been in some other states. But I've seen some reports of, especially I guess in, I want to say Illinois is one place I've seen a story about it, and also I think in New York. And in the meatpacking factories, supposedly they've got a major problem with underage children of illegal immigrants working in these meatpacking factories.
Ron, let me put you on the spot, okay? I hope you don't mind this.
Go ahead.
What are the possibilities, okay? You write some articles about your interviews you do with us in your newspaper.
What was the possibilities about? What was that again? I didn't get some of that.
What are the possibilities, okay, about you writing some articles, about you being involved with Reproduction USA on the weekends about your experiences of working with us in your paper? That's I'd have to talk, of course, to the publisher, but yeah, we might be able to do that, sure. Yeah. But right now, I personally, I enjoy having you on my show, and OMC enjoy having you on this show, okay? And I think the publisher know, okay, that you've been heard other places. Right now, worldwide, okay, on the venues right now, because we're on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and stuff. And I think that will kind of hit the publication to get people down there, especially for you as a columnist.
Sure, certainly. And this, for me, this is fun because I co-hosted a talk show for 20 years on the Fifth radio station. And I did it from 2000 until 2020, and then the pandemic hit. and then they canceled all of the talk shows because of the pandemic. So I haven't been doing my talk show for like the last 3 years. So this gives me a chance to kind of get back into radio. So so I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I know that, and I can feel that. Okay, and I also think Daniels, in Annapolis, okay, for the Jersey Awards, who was able to make the suggestions when I called her about Nashville, and she said, "Well, you just call Ron," and Ron answered the phone, okay, and here we are.
Well, I greatly appreciate the chance to be heard, on your show and to talk about some of these issues because it's very important. I mean, I've been in black media now since the 70s, and
well, I've been in media myself since in fact, I was 27 years old. I was a general manager of a radio station right here in Louis. It was a community radio station, KBDY. At that time, I was the youngest black general manager in the country.
Wow. Okay.
That was back in 1976, I want to say.
Okay. Well, you got me beat there by a couple of years. I got my start in '78, so you got me beat there by a couple of years.
Yeah. So then I've been on different stations in the area. A whole lot of stations, FM and AM, but now I have a more fun really, with Scott here and not in the radio. What we're doing here, that we're probably reaching more people. Especially I know we're all on Facebook because now we are globally, with Spotify and that's a podcast. Right. So now we're doing podcasts now, okay? We're transitioning.
Interrupt there. What impact has podcasting had that any of you can think of?
I think it's had an enormous impact because it's enabling. I think it's two-way impact from the broadcasters or the podcasters' impact. It gives them a chance to be heard in a wide range of places, and for the listener, it gives them a lot more options, a lot more things to hear. So that would be my perspective on it.
But Ron, I would have to co-sign that because a lot of people right now, who do cable shows or either that network shows, for the network TV or what have you. I won't say that, but that's over 50% of them now having their own podcast where they can discuss more things, than they did what they would do. You know what I'm saying? While they want to air at CBS, NBC, other places.
Right. So let me do this. Let me bring in Scott of podcasting. What impact, if any, has podcasting had, Scott?
I've learned a lot since I started podcasting. It's been, I've learned a lot of systems. I've got to meet a lot of neat people. It's just been a blessing in my life.
And likewise here.
That's why it's here.
Do you feel that it's making an impact? And do they have a survey to say that?
Well, it's very popular. I don't know of any surveys, but it is very popular, and a lot of people like to listen to them.
Well, let me add this. We have said our podcasting we're going to about 5 different countries.
At least, yeah.
No, we go around the world.
Yeah, it's open to the whole world. It's just whoever listens to it might be in a different country.
Well, we say it's open to the whole world, but what impact, if any, can you say it has on our listeners?
Well, the best weapon against all insanity is education, if I may say. It's a lot of people are just ignorant, and our mission, both with your show and with Mr. Folks' show, is to increase the education and the information that's going out to all the people.
Well, let me ask you this. They say that we have 5 podcasters going to 5 different countries. Have you been given or heard of any feedback from any of those entities who has been podcasting?
I have not received much. I've received some people who like the shows. I've gotten some feedback on Facebook, on Twitter, and Twitch, and the website that people have enjoyed the shows. But that doesn't, not everybody who watches the show actually gives feedback.
Right. But what it does, MC, it gives everyone a chance to listen at least, okay, to a different side. I know around you, Scott, if we do every Saturday, we have a whole range of different topics. Like today, we discuss Bill Kovac. Bill, used to be work with the National Chamber of Commerce. Is the editor, and the book we talked about today was Constocracy. About the government, which actually means the government in chaos. And that was a topic there that was just unbelievably on time. As you look at what's going on around the country, now legislators, capital, they all like to be in chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, I do have to mention that we only have 4 minutes left.
Okay. And then also, it was shared, on our show, we have a Turkey Bowl, National Human Commerce CEO who travels the world. And we talked today about India, when he was there. We had a delegation there most recently. And also in Kenya. And so, I know we go to a whole lot of stuff we talked about. There's most people can't get it just any place.
If somebody wanted to, how can we suggesting, via podcast or what have you, our newspaper, can we increase the participation of listeners and people? How can they?
Well, you see, one of my places is I just mentioned to Ron, if he wrote about us and the people down there, there'll be more listeners in the Nashville area.
Yeah, I definitely plan to do that. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to you about that next week, and we're gonna firm up some details. I'm gonna do that definitely.
The biggest way we can increase the amount of people that we reach is by sharing this among other people that we know, people who also have the media.
And that's what I do every Saturday with my guests and a lot of our listeners. I just go forward to them and they forward to other people. That's what we do every Saturday. I do that to at least 8, 10 people I could come up with before I take my break in the show. And also, I'm going to see you come to today's show also here. I did on the show last year.
Right.
You did with us. And that way, if you share with somebody else, okay. And I think that way it is working. And once people hear our show, they're going to hear another time. But they're going to learn something.
One thing that might help is knowing what we're going to do from week to week.
Yes. Well, we're going to get started. I'm going to start giving you a schedule right now. I got some stuff. I'm sure I'll be able to end up there van. And, start doing that. Now, we're going to see only get band guest for the show also.
I'm quite sure next week then we'll be talking about the NFL draft that's been held here in Kansas City.
Okay. Well, that's what we look forward to. Well, right now, you can see there's a thing on the wall called the clock. And I think right now it's back at our door. Pushing us out of here. I think it's called 5:59. So MC, anything you want to send us out? Well, Ron, again, thank you so much. Okay, Ron, for taking your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, we enjoy having you also.
And the rest of the we want to keep an ongoing working relationship, be it Tennessee, Missouri, Kansas, whatever. At least we can help reach out to the people and brighten their day with our timely news.
Yeah, we can do that. Well, he has something going on that you could think at that time of day. Well, you just come to Kansas City, hosted by Mr. MC Richard. I'm his co-host. I'm supposed to be going to a conversation with the guest yesterday. It was Ron Wynn from Tennessee. Ron, what's the name of your paper again?
The Tennessee Tribune.
Well, tell the young lady Miss her I said hello, and we want to do something in the future with her, okay?
I sure will. I will be talking to her Monday morning. I will definitely tell her. Yes.
Well,
Go ahead.
No, I said I'll be talking to her Monday morning. I will definitely pass the word to her. Thank you.
Scott, I know you're going to run us off, but have your final say today.
Thank you. You too now.
So on that note, life is good. Thank you for joining us for another beautiful Saturday and have a safe weekend, and life is good.